Good morning, students. Today let us go through new chapter, which is chapter number 7. This particular chapter is based on Introduction to Flash CS4. Here Flash CS4. CS stands for Creative Suite version 4. Flash CS4. So let us go through the introduction part of this and let us see what exactly this particular Flash is all about. So remember, Flash is a program. It is a graphic program. It is basically used for creating some animations, some games, some cartoons, some text graphics, and some other special effects. Remember, we can make some kind of animations, some kind of text graphics, even cartoons, even make some games, and some other very special effects can be applied with this particular Flash program. So it is a graphic program. Here in our chapter, basically we will not go into some kind of games, making games or cartoons, but we will make some kind of text graphics or some kind of symbolic graphics through which we can draw something using this particular program, which is Flash. So let us go through this particular chapter. Previously, this particular Flash program was known as Macromedia Flash. Now it is a part of Adobe, or we call it Adobe. It is a software company that has accepted this particular graphic program. So that is why it is now under Adobe or Adobe. Remember, it was originally initiated with the application called Smart Sketch. So before Flash came, there was an application, there was a software called Smart Sketch. Here is a Smart Sketch. What does this mean is that this particular application, the Smart Sketch application of the program, was basically used for making some kind of drawings, some kind of sketches. So it was from their idea the Flash came into existence, as to not only we can draw some kind of sketches, but we can also go for making some kind of animations, some kind of text effects, some kind of special effects, some games can be created out of this, and some cartoon effects can be created out of this. That is why we can say that this particular Flash program was originally initiated from a particular program called Smart Sketch. And remember, this particular program is developed by Jonathan Gay. It was developed by Jonathan Gay, a visionary of Flash. Why we call a visionary? Because he was the pioneer who gave some idea about how to make some kind of drawings, how to make some kind of text effects, how can we make some kind of sketches. All these things were possible because of his thoughts, because of his design. That is why we call him as a visionary of Flash. So remember, it was during 1993, Jonathan Gay, he was actually a founder of Future Web Software. He was a founder of Future Web Software, and it was he who gave the name as Flash, and then this particular Flash program was accepted by a particular company called Adobe. So we will go into details about how we can start using this particular Flash program. So before going to this, I would like to tell you that to start the Flash program, what you have to do is you have to go to all programs. Before going to all programs, click on the start button, go to all programs, and then you can see a particular program or application name such as Adobe Flash CS4 Professional. Adobe Flash CS4 Professional. You click on that. The moment you click on that, you will get a particular screen. You will get a particular screen of the application. This particular screen of the application is known as the welcome screen. I will show you in the later part of the video, but as of now, you remember that when you open the software or the application, you will get a particular screen. This particular screen is known as your welcome screen. So let us go into this particular application and see what are the things that are associated with this particular application. Next, let us see some of the components of Flash window. I already said that when you open the software, you get a welcome screen. After getting the welcome screen, now you are going to prepare a particular document, or maybe you are going to make some kind of let's say some special effects or text effects, or let's say some kind of drawings you are going to make. So basically in our chapters we will be looking into how can we use various tools and how can we draw some objects. So this is what our topic or our chapter applies, that we will look into how can we draw some objects or some shapes using various tools. I will discuss on this particular topic in the coming classes. Now let us see some of the components of Flash window. Some of the very important components are: the first one is your application bar, next is your stage, under bracket drawing area, which means the drawing area is also known as stage. The other name of the drawing area is stage. The third one is a properties panel. We have library panel, we have timeline panel, we have motion editor panel, and then tools panel. So these are the important components that are underlying inside the Flash program or a Flash application or a Flash software. So these are some of the components. It is through these components we can access or we can use this particular software to draw some kind of objects or make some kind of cartoon effects or make some kind of maybe text effects or maybe some special effects. So let us go and proceed. What does this particular components means? So a brief explanation about these components. Application bar. What does application bar means? The application bar actually displays the name of the open document. Here our document is Flash, FL Flash. So this particular bar, the area, the application bar, it is the area, the bar that actually displays the name of an open document. It displays the name of a particular open document. I will show you by opening that particular software in the later half of the video. So next we have stage. I already told you that the stage is also called a drawing area. It is actually a rectangular workspace area, working space area, rectangular in shape, working area where some objects can be drawn. I already told you that we can draw some objects by using various tools. We can draw objects in that particular rectangular workspace area. That particular area is also known as drawing area, and it is also known as stage. Remember, by default the size of this particular area, the white area, remember the white area, the size of this particular area is 550 into 400 pixels. Here 500 into 400 pixels means the small white color dots. Pixels in the sense, here the dots that represent making a white area is of size 550 into 400 pixels. So this is the default size. We can increase it also, we can decrease it also. So remember, the default color is white. I already told you the drawing area is white color, and the small tiny white dots making a bigger size of white area. So small dots making a bigger size of white area altogetherly comprised of by default 550 into 400 pixels, and this particular area is called stage. It is also known as drawing area. Next, let us see what do you mean by properties panel. Properties panel. See, this particular panel helps in organizing and modifying the various properties of selected objects. So you may be confused about what do you mean by panel. Properties panel. Panel is nothing but a small area. We call it also pane, P-A-N-E, pane or panel. Here panel or pane is a small area, small window. That particular area provides us some facility of organizing and modifying the various properties of a particular selected objects. Let's say a particular selected object, a rectangular object. Now this particular rectangular object, if it is selected, we can make some kind of modification, we can make some kind of property changes. Now here properties means, suppose that particular rectangular shape I want to change it into bigger size, so I need to change the properties. So I can go to the properties and change this. So this is the area where I will go and then make some kind of changes, some kind of modification. That is why it is called properties panel. Properties is a place which contains some features of making some kind of changes, making some kind of modifications to your properties of that particular selected object. Remember, if we have selected the rectangular I was talking about, if we have selected the rectangular shape, then what we can do is we can make some kind of changes, some kind of modifications to that particular objects. So this is what your properties panel is all about. The next component is all about library panel. So library panel, it is basically a place that actually stores and organizes some symbols created in Flash. Some symbols here in the sense, for example, if you draw a rectangular, you need some lines. Those lines are nothing but some symbols. So these symbols can be stored and well organized. As well as what we can do is we can import some graphics, bitmap graphics. Here bitmap graphics. Bitmap is a type of that particular graphics. The graphics can be anything. The graphics can be one symbol, let's say rectangle or square. They can be in any type. They can be in any type. So but here basically we are talking about the bitmap. So any type in the sense they can be in some other JPEG type, PNG type, but here we are talking about the bitmap types. So we can also import those files, maybe some sound files or maybe some video clips. They are stored in a particular place called library panel. From there we can import. Here import means we can bring. Import files means we can bring those files that are stored, those graphics files that are stored, those sound files that are stored, those video files that are stored can be brought to our work area, the stage, so that we can make some kind of changes or maybe represent something in a drawing area. So this is all about your library panel. Next we are talking about timeline panel. What do you mean by timeline panel? See, what does timeline panel means? Here by the name itself we can say the timeline. That means it shows some time in a line. Timeline, that means it seems to be like showing some kind of time as to if you are making some kind of animation, it proceeds from one place to another. For example, if you are making an animation of, let's say, square, so from one point to another point going and then coming back to its original positions, creating a square. So each time it moves from one place to another place, it shows some kind of timings. So what it does is it actually organizes and controls the contents. For example, if you want to draw a square, you need so many different contents, maybe 1 line, 2 line, 3 line, 4 line. We need some kind of contents. So these contents of a particular document, they are actually organized and controlled. And what it does, what timeline panel does is it also divides the time length in layers and frames. Time length in layers and frames. Now here it divides the time. For example, for one layer, for one thing, what is the time needed? What is the time needed? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So it moves in a frames per second. So it divides those timeline. If you see, I will show you a video. If you see the video, you can see how the timeline is represented. So basically what main components or major components a timeline panel has got is it has major components such as layers. Now I'll tell you what are layers, and then some frames, and then it has also got playhead. So in the next slide you will better understand about the timeline. So before showing you about the timeline, okay, let us first of all finish these explanations about motion editor and tools panel, and I'll show you about the timeline. How does a timeline panel actually displays or it organizes or it controls the contents of that particular document in time frame or in time length. We will discuss about this particular timeline in next two slides. So in the next slide, let us talk about what do you mean the motion editor panel. See, what does motion editor panel does is it is basically used for fine tuning of individual properties. Now what do you mean by individual properties? Means size maybe, the color maybe, okay, so the size maybe, the color maybe of that particular object. For fine tuning, for better looking of those particular objects, the motion editor is used. For better looking or maybe better look of that particular objects, the fine tuning is done. Individual properties can be changed, such as maybe applying some color effects, maybe making some kind of filters, and maybe some basic motion properties. We have some motion properties as well. Once we go through the practical aspects, we can see these things, but as of now you just try to understand that motion editor panel is basically used for fine tuning of individual properties, maybe some putting some kind of color or maybe putting some kind of filters, maybe making some kind of size bigger. All these are small individual properties, so we can change this particular thing in the motion editor panel. So next is all about tools panel. What does tools panel mean? See, tools panel means this particular panel, this particular area, this particular window actually contains all the tools that can be used for drawing on a stage, that can be used for drawing on a drawing area. While we draw on a drawing area, we cannot simply draw. We have to use some tools. Such as maybe pen tool, such as maybe pencil tool, such as maybe brush tool. So these are the tools that are used for drawing something on a timeline. Yes, sorry, not timeline. They are used to draw something on a drawing area, that are used to draw in a stage. So in the stage we will be using this particular tools to draw. Okay, on the stage we will be using, on the drawing area we will be using this particular tools to draw whatever objects we like. So tools panels are very important. As such, for example, when we are building a house, we need so many different tools. We need iron rod, we need some spade for digging the mud, we need some cement. These are some of the tools for building a house. Just like that, we need some of the tools to draw something. For example, like pen tool, pencil tool, brush tool. So this particular panel is very important. So in the next slide, let us see about timeline panel. I was talking about timeline panel. See here in the timeline panel, sorry, before that, let's go back to the previous. Okay, see, this is a timeline panel. In the timeline panel, the blue color that we see, these are all frames actually, and this is a playhead. See, they are in the frames, one frame, another frame, they are in a frames. I'm replaying back again. See, 1 2 3, they are all frames. Okay, and this is a playhead. It moves frames per second, 1 second, 2 second. The moment this playhead moves, the object seems to be displaying on the drawing area, on the stage. The moment we have created frames, each frame for a particular object, that will be displayed on the drawing area, and the movement of the frames will be shown in frames per second. This particular area is known as your timeline panel. So when we work with the objects, you'll better understand that. So next, I was talking about tools. See, tools, these are the various tools that are used for drawing. These are the various tools that are used for drawing or making any kind of animated things or any kind of maybe some objects. For drawing we need these tools. So basically tools are divided into 6 different sections. There is a small separation line there. This part is one, this part is another, this is another part, this is another part, this is another part, this is another part. Altogether there are 6 sections. 1 section, 2 section, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the tools panel, this is the tools panel that actually divides each tools in 6 different sections. Remember these 6 different sections. So we will be using each one of these tools. I'll be telling about these tools in the coming classes. So in the next class we will talk about how can we start working with a flash. How can we start working with a flash? We will see these things, and then I will talk about those tools, each tools, what does pen tool means, what does brush tool means, all these things, everything we will discuss. What does rectangular or what does text tool means, what does selection tool means. These tools we will discuss in the next class. So before finishing the class, I will just like to show you the application. I will just show you the application, how the application Flash CS4 looks like. I'll show you by opening the Flash application, Flash software. To open the Flash software or application, go to Start button, All Programs, and here is your Adobe Flash CS4 Professional. Just click on that, the program will start opening. It's taking time to open. Yes, the program has opened. Once the program opens, this particular entire window, this screen is known as a welcome screen. This screen is known as a welcome screen. So here this is your application bar. This is your application bar. Here it is written FL. Application bar actually displays the name of the open document. And here you have a timeline. Here is the timeline panel. Here is the motion editor. Here is the timeline. Here is the motion editor. Here are properties panel. Here are your properties panel. And here is your library panel, and these are your tools. So in order to start, I'll just show you. Click on this any flash file here. Click on the first one. Here it is saying create new. Click on it. Once you click on it, here this area, the white area, the default size I already told you it is 550 into 400 pixels. The white area here, the drawing starts. So by default your first document name will be untitled -1. Untitled -1 will be your default file name. Untitled -1 is your default file name. Here is your timeline. Here is the layer, the first layer, 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer. Your layer may be so many things. So here is your playhead, and from 1 frame second, 5, 10, 15, it will go on movement. The moment you draw, it will be displaying in this way. So here is your stage, the drawing area. Here is your properties panel. You can change the properties of untitled 1 document. So far we have not done anything, so we cannot make any kind of properties change. Here is your library panel, and then here is your tools panel. From here we will start using these tools, and then we will start drawing here. So in the next class we will talk about how to use this, what are the uses of these tools. Not all the tools are required. There are some important tools that we will be using, and we will start learning what are each tools mean, what does each tool mean, and then in the next chapter we will talk about how can we draw some objects. So with this we will come to the end of today's class. See you in the next class. Thank you.